the Second World War, what we vaguely call the West has experienced the most remarkable period of economic growth in human history, yet it doesn't seem to have made us particularly happy or safe. At the start of the 21st century, the chances of being robbed or violently attacked are approximately twice as great as they were in the early 1950s. In the world at large, more people live in abject poverty than ever before, yet the poor now form a noticeably smaller proportion of the human race. When, at any previous time in human existence, could anyone even have suggested staging a campaign to make poverty history? That has happened in our time, and if we were only prepared to make some fairly basic sacrifices, we might actually achieve it. But above all, we who live in the wealthy countries of the world have come to expect that our lives will be peaceful, something that no other generation could have considered. It is true that Tony Blair, during his 10 years in office, involved Britain in more wars than any Prime Minister for 40 years, but by the standards of the 20th century, they were mostly small affairs. It's only human nature, of course, to assume that we can go on like this indefinitely. As I speak, Western Europe has experienced 62 years of unbroken peace and prosperity. Unfortunately, contrary to popular belief, prosperity and good governance aren't inevitable. They have to be worked at. One night recently, as I lay in a large, comfortable bed in the Plaza Hotel Buenos Aires, I dreamt I was being bombed. The explosions seemed to go on forever, and each time I thought the next one's bound to get me. My head seemed as vulnerable as an eggshell. I covered it with my arms and pressed myself into a gutter in the road. As I lay there, I kept apologizing, sometimes to my wife, sometimes to my baby son, sometimes to an indistinct group of people. They all seemed to be standing over me, completely unaffected by the bombs, watching and criticizing what I was doing. Then the bombing turned into small arms fire, and I woke up, gasping, still saying sorry. And after a few minutes, back in the peaceful, sunny world of Argentina, I ordered some tea and croissants, and sat down at my computer to write this. The date was the 6th of April, 4 years to the day since a group of us had been bombed by an American plane in northern Iraq. I'd spent much of the previous evening talking over the whole thing with someone who was with me at the time, Ogi Boychev, the BBC producer in overall charge of our northern Iraq operation. Ogi now works with me full-time, and over a late dinner in a delightful fish restaurant, we bored our companion, the cameraman Nick Woolley, by going over it all yet again. Ogi grew up in communist Bulgaria and escaped to London and the BBC in the 1980s. Wherever he is, he looks as though he's come from somewhere else. In Russia, he looks like someone from the Caucasus. In London, people take him for an Italian. In Iran, they think he's a Turk. In fact, he's that most British of men, a foreigner by origin, who is utterly integrated into British life, more so than most Brits. Nick is also quintessentially British, but a native Yorkshireman through and through. Not the cloth cap and ferret Yorkshireman of a previous age, but tall, funny, easy and equable. As a child, he was taken to a public show and saw a television cameraman filming it. At that moment, he decided to become a cameraman. Neither of these men, so different from each other in background, physical appearance and approach, ever says no to a difficult assignment. Neither of them complains or blames me when things go wrong. Neither of them starts to work out ways of going home early. This evening, over dinner in the Buenos Aires fish restaurant, Ogi and I talked about the contrast between the extraordinary escapes we'd had and the dreadful death of our translator, Kamran, not to mention the 17 other Iraqi Kurds who were killed in front of our eyes. We talked for the 1000th time of how our colleague Tom Giles had been walking straight towards the spot where the bomb landed, then turned away because his mother rang his mobile phone to wish him a happy birthday, and so saved his life. We talked in affectionate terms about Dragan Petrovic, who had come with us to northern Iraq, even though his wife...